please call the roll.
Berlin,
Present.
Cohen, not present, and Marsh Holshin,
Here.
Murray,
Here.
and Starkovic.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. We'll move to agenda item number 3, disposition of minutes. Each member of the authority has a copy of the minutes of the January 5th, 2022 licensing authority meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes?
Nope.
Seeing none, the minutes of the meeting of the licensing authority of January 5th, 2022 stand approved as submitted by the deputy city clerk. We'll move to agenda item 4A. First Watch Restaurants Incorporated, doing business as First Watch Restaurants number 429. Application for a new hotel and restaurant license, boundary setting. Members of the authority have a copy of the application along with the agenda memorandum, which sets forth the staff's review. Would the staff please summarize the material?
Yes, sir. At this point, all that is necessary is to note the receipt of the application, establish the neighborhood boundaries, and set a date and time for the hearing. The suggested neighborhood boundary is the area within a radius of 1 mile from the premises proposed for the license. Thank you.
Thank you. Are the applicants or the applicant's representatives present on the Zoom call?
They are not.
Should we postpone this until the very end to be sure that they're agreeable to the 1 mile boundary?
I know they did email and communicate with us that they are good with the 1 mile boundary that was presented tonight.
Okay. Mr. Heine, any problems with us moving forward?
No problem.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the licensing authority? May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Starkovich.
thank you. That the local licensing authority note receipt of the application for a new beer and wine license at 799 US Highway 287, Broomfield, Colorado 80020, that the local licensing authority set a public hearing on said application for 5:30 PM on March 2nd, 2022, to be held in the city council chambers of George E. Chiro City and County Building or remotely, and that the local licensing authority establish the neighborhood boundaries for the subject application as the area within a radius of 1 mile from the applicant's proposed location.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? No discussion. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Berlin,
Aye.
Marsh Holshin,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
and Starkovic.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes. And I assume the clerk will be in contact with the applicant to explain the procedures and get all the documents and paperwork. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
We'll move to agenda item 4B, Irwin Beverage Incorporated, doing business as Beverage Works Beer, Wine, Spirits, show cause hearing regarding alleged violation.
Mr. Chair,
Call-
I hate to interrupt, but if I may call for a quick break in the proceedings for 5 minutes to speak with the municipal prosecutor, I would appreciate that.
Any objection by any member of the board to do that?
No objection.
Okay, let's take 5.
Okay, thank you very much. I probably exceeded my 5 minutes.
Well, since it's your last day here, we'll let you have it.
Is everyone back present in the meeting? Thank you for allowing me to have a break.
We have to wait for Mr. Murray. There he is. I'll
There.
call the meeting back into session, and I will restate agenda item 4B. Irwin Beverage Incorporated, doing business as Beverage Works Beer, Wine, Spirits, show cause hearing regarding alleged violation of Colorado Revised Statute 443901 6AI and Broomfield Municipal Code 964010.
Mr. Chair, if I can interrupt you here while we're on this
Yes.
first item. Thank you for allowing me a break. In terms of proceeding, there's been a change, and I will let the municipal prosecutor speak to that issue.
Sure.
Ms.
Thank you. Courtney Tiemann from the City Attorney's Office, prosecutor for the liquor license violation. So this is, I haven't had a chance to talk to the licensees about this. Actually, right before we came on, I was reviewing some notes, and I apologize. I neglected to go back and review my notes. If everybody recalls, there was a memo about a change in the state law as it pertained to the sentencing in violations. And I spoke with all of the licensees. They were all amenable to stipulations, but unfortunately, I'm afraid that the stipulations that I have discussed with them could possibly be in violation of the new state sentencing guidelines. And again, I'm terribly with those again, and I don't think we can proceed forward. I certainly don't want to enter into stipulations or make recommendations to the authority that would be in violation of those new state regs. So I'm awfully sorry to the authority. I'm sorry to the licensees, but I think what I need to do in order to make sure we're doing this correctly is to ask to continue these hearings until the next month so that I have the time to explain to the licensees what I'm talking about and just make sure that we are complying with state law. And I think we could do this. I could do this if we were in person, but we're virtual, and I just don't think I can do it smoothly. So that's my request at this time, is to continue these until the March 1st meeting.
I don't have a problem with continuing, and I'll get counsel from Mr. Heine. If you would please explain to us if it's permissible, what the change in law would be that we will be applying at the next meeting.
And I'm going to speak in here just because you're not aware that I've had conversations with Ms. Tiemann, and Mr. Heine is not aware of kind of the issues and what is going on. So if you can repeat your question, Mr. Chair, please.
I guess I want to be sure I'm okay requesting this. That's my request to Mr. Heine or Ms. Gilbert. I would like to know what the change in law would be that you will be bringing forward to the 4 licensees that we'll be visiting with so that we can refresh our memories.
Is it possible for me to answer that? Because I'm the one who's talking about the change in law. I don't know if you feel, is that okay? So the state statute, they did a revamped how they do the state penalties, right? And they've set up categories of a category 1 violation. So I think there's A, B, C, and D. So they totally revamped the assessment, and then they talked about the penalties. And what applies here is they talked about dates that are required for fine in lieu. So if you recall in the past, we entered into stipulations where we said there will be, we said that we'll have 7 days or 5 days of suspension held in abeyance for a year and 5 days of a payment in a fine in lieu of suspension. Well, now in front of the state, if it's a violation, which is the ones that we have here tonight, it appears they may require 7 days payment of fine in lieu. And it's very, so I just need to look at that and see if it applies to local licensing as well as the state sentencing. I can give you the citation. Is that what you would like as well?
I would too.
Yep. I'm happy to give that to you. So it's in the, first of all, it's in the regulations, right? So it's in the Colorado liquor rules under 1 CCR 203 subsection 2, and specifically it is in regulation 47 dash 505. I think that's right. 47603. Okay. And then
47603.
that's right.
Okay.
And then
Ms. Teeman, you have
for
apparently bandwidth.
the give me just a minute to pull up.
Ms. Teeman, you have, I think,
Can't hear you.
bandwidth problems on your end.
Yes.
If you can turn your video off so we have all audio, I think that would be better.
It's great. Let's see if that works any better. Does
And
it
Mr.
seem
Chair,
to?
Mr. Chair, I have a question to Ms. Teeman when it's appropriate.
She's okay. Go ahead, Ms. Teeman, finish, and then Mr. Murray and others may have questions.
Okay. I'm trying to find the exact statute for give me just 1 second. Classes of license and permits. It's going to take me a minute, and I might have to follow up with you for the exact state statute.
That'll be
So
fine.
maybe you can get and ask your question, and I might be able to find it in the meantime. Yeah. Oh,
Mr. Murray?
actually, let's see.
I found it. It's a good PDF. If you just, I put it in chat, and you click on the chat and then scroll down to page 73 of 113. It talks about calculating.
Oh.
fines.
For the regs? Oh, yeah, sure. Okay.
Looks like it's 7 days for a level 1 violation.
Thank you.
And to your point, Chair, Mr. Chair, either Joel, likely Joel, or I will provide the authority with our opinion in reviewing the law about whether the proposed stipulations are consistent, but I think we need some time.
Okay. Mr. Murray, you had a question for Ms. Teeman?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Teeman,
Yes.
what was the date of the effective change of the law? And with the new regulation or statute or whatever it's going to be titled under state law, effect violations or alleged violations after the date of implementation, or would it go back to previous violations that had not been adjudicated, which is the case we have here? These are 2021 violations. If the law just took place, would it go forward or would it go retroactive? And that might answer our question tonight. Is it moot delaying these till next month if the law only applies going forward?
Well, I'm looking again for my my notes. I just had the chart pulled up. But here is my recollection, is that this passed sometime in the summer of 2020. And so I think it's going to apply to these I feel very confident that it will apply to these as they happened in November of 2021.
Okay, with that given said, if it passed in 20, was it implemented sometime in the past also? And some of the prior stipulations that licensees have entered into with us might be impacted negatively? Do we need to revisit anything? Or should we just deal with the 4 tonight?
If I can weigh in on that. Are you getting feedback the way I'm getting feedback? No.
Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Gilbert. We can still hear you.
Yeah. There had been no violations during the COVID period. These recent violations are the one that we're dealing with. So I think the time period works in terms of we will not have to revisit, but that's something we can certainly take a look at. My recollection is the last violations before this set of violations was in 2019.
Wow, okay. All right. That's all I got, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Is there any additional comment from the LLA?
I could, sorry, Courtney, again, the prosecutor. I can also give you the citation to the state statute now. I found it.
Go ahead.
Which goes to 443601.
Thank you. And in reference to agenda item 4B, may I have a motion, please, to either continue the entire hearing till March 2nd or until such time we have the legal counsel that we are needing to proceed. However you want to word it, if I can have a motion, please.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Starkovich.
before I make a motion, I have a question for legal. Can I make a motion, a generic motion for all items for B, C, D, and E, or do we have to do them individually?
Mr. Honey?
I believe you could do all 4 of them in the same motion.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chair, I move that the local licensing authority continue agenda items 4B, 4C, 4D, and 4E until the March 2nd meeting and continue show cause hearings until that time.
And is there a second, please?
Second the motion.
And Mr. Irwin, Mr. Sandu, Mr. Fullington, and I don't know whether we have anyone else from possibly King Supers. Are you
No.
all aware of what's occurring here?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Yes,
All
I do.
right. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, what's the pleasure of the authority? If the clerk would please call the roll.
Berlin,
Yes.
Marsh Hulston,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Starkovich.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes. For the licensees now on the call, that would indicate that the city prosecutor will be in contact with you. They'll discuss what the changes may be or may not be, and then you'll come back to us on March 2nd. Is that all understood?
Yes. Yes, it is. John Irwin.
Thank you. We will then talk to you then, and we'll have this all resolved by that time. So thanks for joining us tonight.
Mr. Chair, I have one question of legal.
Go ahead, Mr. Murray.
Would it be appropriate to notify the folks from Dillon of the bullet points of tonight's events and let them know that there might be a change in the sentencing format when they revisit us next month?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Notify whom?
The folks from King Supers from Dillon Company, and let them know the potential changes to the stipulations they might be hearing about next month?
I believe the municipal prosecutor will be in touch with them.
Okay, perfect.
And Courtney, could
So-
you confirm that, please, on the record?
Yeah, I'm in contact with Mr. I can't state, I think it's stapled to Adam from Dill & Dill. Yes.
I just want to make sure that because they're not with us tonight and the other four applicants are, the other three applicants are, that the Dillon folks get the same information that the folks on the call tonight are hearing live with us right now.
Good point, and thank you, Mr. Murray.
Then we'll move to agenda item, I believe it's 4F.
I have a question, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to receive an email, right, for March 2nd?
Ms. Teeman, or the clerk, either one, can you
Sure.
respond?
If I could just speak, I mean, I've had contact with all three of the licensees. This is Courtney Teeman, and I have everybody's email address. That's how I've communicated with you. I can send you an email and we can set up a time. I don't want anybody to worry. This actually, I don't think this is going to have a huge impact. So I don't want anybody to feel stressed out or worried, and I will reach out to you via email tonight, actually.
And the clerk will
Okay.
also provide an email with the new information. Hopefully, it will be in person and we won't have another snowstorm, but the clerk will provide you information on the meeting agenda, meeting time.
Okay, thank you. And we are allowed to leave the meeting right here, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you, sir. Have a good night.
Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good night.
Then to agenda item 4F, remote meeting policy update. It is a consensus of the board to postpone further discussions of the remote meeting policy to April 6, 2022. Or it is a consensus of the board to continue the meeting to March 2nd, 2022. And if I can have either the clerk or assistant city attorney talk about the reasoning why.
Yes, sir. I can speak to that. This is Joel Heine, Assistant City and County Attorney. At this point, the board does not have a formal remote meeting policy. And the board will be reconstituted with new members. The April 6, 2022 meeting will be the first meeting with the new members. So one recommendation would be to postpone the discussion until April 6, 2022. That way the new members of the board could be part of the discussion regarding their potential remote meeting policy.
Carrie, you're muted.
Mr. Honey, is that your recommendation?
That would be, yes.
And do I need a motion on this to make a determination whether we're going to discuss this in March or April?
No motion is required. We will, the clerk has authority to control the agenda. So we'll put that on the agenda item for April, if that's a consensus.
Would be mine.
Yeah, I concur. I think it'd be best for the new board to hit the ground running, and this would be their first opportunity to impact their futures. So I'm a go for April 6, 2022.
Mr. Morris Holshan,
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mr. Starkovich. So we'll discuss it in April. Agenda item 5A, updated violations report.
There's no updated report at this time.
Thank you. Agenda item 6, police department report.
We did not receive an updated police report either, so.
Thank you. Agenda item 7, city and county attorneys report.
There are no further updates from the city and county attorney.
Thank you. Is there any other business to come before the local licensing authority tonight?
I have a question for the city clerk. Do you have any items on the agenda for next month already, in addition to the 4 that we just moved over? Or is this going to be pretty empty docket with these 4 hearings?
Well, we'll have the first watch public hearing as well, because they'll start their petition, and so they'll have their public hearing March, and then we'll have all of the show cause hearings. Yes.
Okay. So it could be busy next month.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything additional?
That's all I got, Mr. Chair.
Seeing no additional comments or business to come forward, we'll adjourn the meeting and reference the documents the city clerk sent to me. I won't electronically sign any of those until I hear back from you with new documents.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good